ever catch yourself thinking about, like, how powerful our words are? We all know, yeah, words matter, but, like, what if I told you that your words could actually be impacting your mental and your physical health?
Wow.
That's what we're diving into today, exploring how even just little tiny shifts in the way we use language, even subtle ones, can lead to huge changes in our well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, this whole field, isn't it?
Sure.
We just don't realize how strong the connection is between our thoughts and then the words we speak and what that does to our bodies, those physiological responses.
Okay, so walk me through this a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got this article from lifearchitect.tat, and they talk about this study about people with depression, and honestly, it kind of blew my mind.
Oh, yeah. It really highlights the power of language, this study. It involved a bunch of people with depression, obviously,
Okay.
and they divided them into groups to receive different types of treatments. Some got traditional therapy, some were given medication, and now here's the interesting part.
Yeah.
There was a group who was instructed to simply change their language.
So instead of like popping pills or talking about their childhood, they're just messing around with how they talk.
Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They were told, okay, so instead of saying I can't or I have to, try saying I choose not to, I choose to, I will, or I won't. It was all about giving them back control,
Okay.
a sense of agency, you know?
Okay, but does that really, I mean, does that actually do anything? Is it just like tricking your brain into feeling more positive? Like, hey, brain, we're happy now.
It's definitely more subtle than that,
Okay.
but no less impactful, I'll tell you that. The results were amazing. The group that focused on changing their language, they actually recovered faster than all the other groups, even the ones on medication and therapy.
Hold on, are you serious? Just from switching out can't for choose? That is wild. There's got to be some crazy science behind that, right?
Yeah, you better believe it. So when we say things like, I can't, it can, like, literally create a roadblock in your mind. Our brains hear that and they're like, nope, end of the line. And then you get those feelings of being helpless and frustrated.
Yeah, like running into a wall every time you try to make a change.
Yes, exactly. But when we switch it up and say, I choose not to, we change things up, we shift that balance of power, we're acknowledging that we actually do have a choice. Even if it's not the best choice, it's still a choice. This little tiny shift in language can really seriously impact our sense of control, and then our mental state changes because of it.
Okay, so I'm choosing to be totally fascinated right now
Yeah.
because this is like blowing my mind. It's not just some woo-woo feeling better thing. It's literally changing how our brains work, how they respond.
Yeah. Our brains are really good at adapting, really incredible. When we make an effort to change our language, it's like we're rewiring those circuits in our brains to react differently when stuff gets tough.
Yeah.
Like, think about it like learning a new skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Okay, I think a lot of people can relate to this part.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I am totally guilty of being like, ugh, I can't, or I have to do this all the time. But you're saying that's actually messing with my brain chemistry. Now, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal because it's all connected to how our bodies deal with stress.
Okay.
Just think about it for a second. Okay. When you say, I have to, it often brings on this feeling of being stuck. Like you're obligated, you have no choice. Your boss tells you, you have to get those reports done.
Ugh, don't remind me about reports.
Right. And then suddenly your brain kicks into overdrive. It's like, go, go, go.
So now my fight or flight response is freaking out over a spreadsheet.
In a way, yeah. Your body's like, danger, danger. And it starts pumping out all these stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, getting you ready to either fight something or run away. That kind of response is great if you're actually in danger, but not so much when it's happening every single day because of, normal stuff.
So you're saying my body basically thinks there's a tiger chasing me because I have to finish a work presentation. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah. Now imagine what happens if you just tweak it a bit and say, I choose to instead.
Oh, okay.
It might not make the pressure completely disappear, but it changes how you see the situation. You're back in the driver's seat, and that can really help keep those stress hormones in check.
So when I say I choose to, it's like telling my brain, dude, chill out. We're good. We got this.
Yeah.
I'm into it. What about the long-term effects of all this negative self-talk? Didn't the article talk about that too?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, saying I can't once or twice isn't going to send you to the emergency room or anything.
Okay, good to know.
But if you're constantly using that kind of language, it can really start to impact your physical health over time.
So this is about way more than just like positive self-help stuff. We're talking about a real connection between our words and how healthy we are overall.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
It's like that, what do you call it? The snowball effect?
Okay, break that down for me.
So picture this. Every time you hit yourself with some negative self-talk, it's like this little snowball, right?
One tiny snowball, it's not going to do much.
Yep.
But imagine, like, over time, all those little snowballs, they start piling up, they get bigger, harder to manage.
Okay, I get you. So we're talking chronic stress here, but how does that actually, like, show up in our bodies? What are the real-world consequences of all this snowballing?
Oh, man, chronic stress. It can manifest in so many ways. We're talking headaches, digestive issues, you name it. It can even weaken your immune system.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. And don't even get me started on the increased risk of heart problems.
Whoa, okay. I did not realize it was connected to all that. I mean, I know stress is bad, but
It's crazy, right?
yeah.
It's this whole complex web of stuff going on in your body and your mind. When we're constantly pumping out those stress hormones, it takes a toll. It wears you down.
So you're saying all those I can'ts and I have tools are basically stressing us out without us even realizing it.
Bingo. But hey, there's good news too.
Okay, give me the good news.
We can use language to de-stress too, to kind of flip the script and promote healing.
All right, so how do we do that? How do we go from I can't and chronic stress to I choose and like a gold star from our doctor? What are the practical steps?
Well, the article talks a lot about mindfulness, being aware of that self-talk, that inner voice,
Mm-hmm.
without judging yourself.
Okay.
Notice how often you use those phrases, the ones that make you feel powerless. Are you saying, I can't, when maybe you just haven't figured out a way to do it yet?
Right.
Or I have to, when really you are making a choice, even if it doesn't feel like it.
So it's like being more aware of the story we're telling ourselves, right? Instead
Sure.
of just going straight to I can't, maybe hit pause for a sec, challenge that thought a little.
Exactly. And that's where I will comes in.
Okay.
It's like this declaration, you're putting your foot down, making a commitment to take action, even if you're scared or unsure.
You know, it's funny because saying I will just hits different than I have to. It feels, I don't know, more powerful. Like I'm the one calling the shots.
Right. That shift in perspective, that's the magic. And you know what? Our brains, they love patterns.
Mm.
When we keep using language that makes us feel capable, like anything's possible, our brains start to believe it.
So it's not about pretending like everything's perfect or easy.
No, not at all.
It's more about how we deal with those tough moments, those challenges, and using our words to help us get through them.
Exactly. It's like you're giving your brain a pep talk and a high five at the same time.
I'm here for it.
Good. And as you start to swap those old, tired phrases for ones that light you up, you'll probably notice a difference, not just in your head, but in your body too.
Really?
Oh yeah. You'll feel calmer, more grounded, ready to handle whatever life throws at you.
That's awesome. It's like we can literally change how we feel just by changing how we talk to ourselves.
Exactly. And the coolest part, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Like anything else, right? Practice makes perfect.
Exactly. Think of it like mental fitness. Just like hitting the gym makes your body stronger, training your mind to use more empowering language, well, that makes your mind stronger too.
I love that analogy. But what about those times when we slip up? We're human. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
What should we do when we catch ourselves falling back into those old habits?
Listen, first of all, cut yourself some slack.
Easier said than done sometimes.
I know, but it's true. It's a journey, not a race. It takes time. The important thing is to be kind to yourself, even when you mess up. Notice those slip-ups, acknowledge them, and then gently steer yourself back on track.
So progress over perfection.
You got it. And don't forget to celebrate those little wins along the way. Each time you choose a power phrase over a downer phrase, you're rewiring your brain for the better.
This has been so eye-opening, honestly. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools to deal with stress and just feel better overall.
That's what we like to hear.
Before we wrap up, though, any last words of wisdom for our listeners who are ready to put all this amazing advice into practice?
Just start paying attention. Really tune in to that voice in your head. What is it saying? How's it making you feel? And remember, you get to choose your words. And when you choose your words, you're choosing what kind of life you want to live. It's a process, sure, but if you're willing to put in the work, you can use the power of language to create a life that is healthier, happier, and more fulfilling than you ever thought possible.
I love that. Choose your words, choose your life.
There you go.
That's such a great takeaway. This has been, I don't know, like eye-opening is the word that keeps coming to mind. It's like we've been given this like instruction manual for our own minds or something.
Right, like we have way more control than we think we do.
Absolutely. So for our listeners who are like totally on board and want to put all this into practice, like right now, where do you suggest they start?
Well, the article I was talking about before, it mentions this really simple exercise. It's all about paying attention to what you're saying to yourself throughout the day, that inner monologue. Like when you hear yourself saying, oh, I can't, or I have to do this, just stop for a sec
Okay.
and ask yourself, is that really true? Like, what's the real story here?
So challenging those automatic negative thoughts before they like spiral out of control.
Yeah, exactly. Like instead of saying, I can't possibly start that project today, I'm swamped, maybe try saying, you know what? I'm choosing to focus on these other things right now, but I will make time for that project tomorrow.
Right. It's not about pretending that our to-do list doesn't exist or
No,
anything.
not at all.
It's more about like acknowledging the reality of our situations, but still focusing on, what we can control, the choices we do have.
Yes. There's such a small tweak in how we talk, but it makes a huge difference in how we think and act. Like, it can actually help us create the life we want.
You know what? It also makes me think of that quote. I think it was Goethe who said it. The limits of my language are the limits of my world. Like if we can learn to use more powerful, more positive language, we can open up all these new possibilities.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's like we're artists, and our words are the paint,
Yeah.
you know? Every word we choose adds to the bigger picture.
I love that analogy. Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. This has been an incredible deep dive.
It really has.
We've talked about fascinating research. We broke down the science behind how our brains react to language. And we even learned some super practical tips for using this stuff in our own lives.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
Yes, thank you.
Remember, you have the power to choose your words. And when you do that, you're choosing what kind of life you want to live. So choose wisely.